Alright guys, welcome to today's video on the Photoshop full course tutorial. I am excited to be taking you on this journey, and today we are going to be looking at basic photo editing. In today's lesson, we're going to be covering the basics of photo editing, cropping, resizing, adjusting brightness and contrast, basic color correction and all of that. So stay with me in this tutorial. First of all, we're going to start with cropping. So to crop your image, you select the crop tool from here or press C, right? The crop tool is used to trim and expand the edges of your image. So you can just click and drag in, right? You want to make this image, you want to remove some parts maybe you feel are unnecessary for your image. You crop it. After you adjust by clicking and dragging on the edges, you press enter or click the tick icon up here. So you commit the current crop operation. So you press OK to commit it. Then to resize your image, you can go to image. You can go to image and go to image size, and then adjust the width and the height. You can adjust the width and the height as you deem fit. As you do that, please ensure that the constraint proportion is turned on. How do you do that? This particular icon here, this is used to constrain the aspect ratio so that you don't increase the width and destroy your image aspect ratio. So always make sure this is ticked. So mine is already on already. That is why when I begin to adjust the width, the height is also adjusting with it together, right? So I don't have to make sure that it maintains. So Photoshop automatically increases the width in proportion with the height. So make sure this is in most cases this should already be turned on your own. So if I click on it, I'll remove it. If I click on it, it is on now. With this will show you that it is on, right? This line that you're showing that is connected, they are connected together. Okay, so once you are done with your image, you are done increasing the size of your image, you can press OK. Photoshop will run the stuff and it will run the operation and increase or reduce the size of your image depending on what you did, right? So talking about adjusting brightness and contrast, now you with the image selected, with the layer of the image you want to apply it on selected, you go to image, right, adjustment, and get to brightness and contrast, right? You click on it and then you can adjust it by dragging this up or down. So you can actually increase the brightness by dragging it up, and then the contrast too. So until the image looks like what you want, right? So you can turn off the preview or turn it on by toggling this particular checkbox and all. So I think I'm okay with what my image looks like. It's a bit brightened up now. I'm just going to press OK, right? So I'm going to show you now the same way you apply this brightness and contrast. You can do the same for every other adjustments, but for the course of this tutorial, I'm just going to show you one more, which is going to be the curve adjustment. So go to image adjustment and then the curve adjustment. Now the curve adjustment is used to interact with the shadow, the mid-tone, and the highlight. So this is the shadow, this is the mid-tone, this is the highlight. So you can just click on here to increase, just adjust the flow from your shadow to your mid-tone to your highlight until it looks good to you. And then you can just press OK once it looks okay to you. Okay, once it's good to you, of course you can preview before and after, and then you press OK. Okay, let me go into basic color corrections. Now for basic color correction, I'm just going to show you two of our adjustments. So number one is going to be levels, number two is going to be curves. So the first one, levels, come to adjustment and select levels here, and then under levels we have in color correction, generally we have the shadow, we have the mid-tone, and we have the highlight. Now these are represented by these nodes, right? This is the shadow node, this is the midtone, and this is the highlight. So if you begin to drag this up, you see the shadows are increasing. If you begin to drag this down, you see the highlights are increasing. Now the shadows, of course, are the shaded part of your image, the dark part of your image. The midtone, the highlights are the bright part, the lit part of your image. So all these lit areas, the white areas, and all of that, they are the highlights, right? Then the midtone is somewhere in between the both of them, right? So that is that. So with this now, you've adjusted this image, you've corrected the color of this image. So if some places that were darker before, so before this place seemed too dark, almost completely pitch black. So instead of doing that, we added a little bit of lightness to it, right? So that is how this works. You can preview before and after for at least matching with the sharpness of this highlight here. So we've not gotten into advanced color correction. When we get into it, you will see how these things work and how they interact with each other. So stay with me on this journey, right? So after you're done with setting up your work, your levels, you press OK. And then the next one we're going to look at is going to be curves, right? It is still the same thing we want to do, right? But a different way of achieving the same thing. So go to images, adjustments, and then you go to curves. Of course, Control M or Command M if you're on the Mac. Then you can see below here is the shadow, here is the midtone, and here is the highlight. So you can actually just try to create two nodes here on the graph and then try to adjust them as you see fit, right? Once they are okay the way you want, you can just click OK. But for now, look at what we have, okay, with this. So we can bring this down. There's something else you can do with this is the why this curves is very powerful is that you can actually tell, you can use something called the color picker to tell Photoshop what exactly to do to your design. For example, these are our color pickers. So you can, this is for shadows, to sample an image to set black point, and then you can sample the image to set the gray point, and then to set the white point. So shadow, midtone, and highlight. So black, gray, and white. So if I think that a particular part of this image is dark enough, so I can select this shadow and let me say I click on here now, it will be used as a dark point of this image. Then on this part, I'll select the midtone, I'll pick somewhere here, around here, or maybe here, anywhere you want to pick as your gray point. And then the light point, I can pick a bright point of my image somewhere here, and you see what we have achieved just by clicking buttons from this to this. So if that is okay by you, you can just press OK, and that will be it. So this Photoshop creates easy ways of correcting our image, of color correcting our image. So this image, we have moved it from what it was to this and all of that. So that will bring us to the end of this tutorial. In this lesson, we have learned how to crop our image, resize it, apply brightness and contrast, and even color correct our image using levels and curves. Thank you very much for following this tutorial. And if at this point you've not liked this video or subscribed to the channel, I encourage you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell icon to get notified when next I release a video. And if I've already released the next video on this playlist, click on the next button to just watch it immediately. For now, thank you very much for following this tutorial, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.